the presidency is right or Dr. Akinwumi Adesina is wrong. What should be clear to everybody and to all of us that are Nigerians is that the love of our country should come first, and if there is any way we can make our country better, is what we should look at. And what are those things that can make our country better? I will mention them again. There is no future for any country who does not produce sufficiently some of these finished goods. You see, Africans have been bottled to a thought that we are to farm for the rest of the world. Okay. The rest of the world also has access to farm. They can also farm. I'm not saying farming is wrong. Farming is good. But what is the essence of agro output that you have that you cannot process locally? And to do that, what we need to do is to ensure that there is adequate electricity, power supply, among other things that adjoins to that. But what I've seen recently is that we are even planning to possibly hike the cost of energy. And when we do that, I mentioned, when the last time it was increased, I mentioned that are we going to see increase in output of electricity? We saw it for some months,
all right, but
can we still say that band A is really A indeed?
My apology.
Mr. Adesina is saying, which I'm not sure whether deliberately or he assumed that people will understand it, is that dollar itself has a value. As of that time, dollar was based on the value of gold, up until the time that dollar was taking off the gold value. The dollar you saw in 1960, that was 100, is over 1,000. It's over 1,000 now. In economics, we don't take absolute value. That number that looks like $100, when you check what that $100 we buy in 1960, is far higher than what it will buy today. So I also saw that people are comparing that people were paid 45,000 minimum wage, 45 naira minimum wage, and they are being paid, say, 70,000 now. We need to check how much was Pojo, how much was all the vehicles that were used, brand new vehicles, in that time, in 1960, and how much is it today? So when we are comparing, economists are very careful about just comparing in absolute terms. It's important we compare in relative terms. So yes, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina was not wrong with his presentation because, of course, as an economist and to have held that kind of position, I believe that he has taken into cognizance the relative value of the dollar. And the relative value of the dollar that is earned then is far better than the per head income we are earning now. The spokesperson for the president is also not wrong when you speak absolutely regarding what the GDP number was then and what it is now. The GDP number then, the per capita income then, the number he quoted was right compared to what it is now. But what matters is not how much it is what can it buy. Can you buy what the minimum wage then, what we earn then, can we spend the same amount to have the same value? Again, the quality of life. What is the quality of life then and what is the quality of life now? These are things that people should pay attention to. And to compare very well, you need to look at different economic parameters. One is what is happening to inflation. What was inflation in 1960 and what is inflation today? Clearly speaking, inflation today is far higher than what it was in 1960. I don't know if you can still hear me, sir.
I have a lot of concern for the have-nots in Nigeria. In fact, they say that the experts have said that the middle class is almost wiped out. So literally, what happens to Nigeria and Nigerians, especially the poor ones, is the fact that whatever benefits them seem to be taken away all the time. What happened to PMS? They say there's corruption, is helping more of the big men and the rich men. So rather than help the rich men, although the poor is benefiting, let's collapse it because it's a big wage bill on the federal government, 6 trillion naira a year, we can't afford it. They took that out. PMS subsidy gone. Well, now, Band A has also taken a hit. Also subsidy gone for Band A users. That's not all. FX, because we import a lot of things, has also not been subsidized. So everywhere the poor man turns around to just get some succor from the Nigerian state, the Nigerian state has pulled it out. I don't know whether this is a contravention to Section 16 of the Constitution. So where can the government start solving this complex problem, I must admit, of helping the poor at the same time managing the affairs of state so that everybody benefits?
First is to realize that the pure market system cannot work in a developing country. Absolutely. Adopting a pure market system of forces of demand and supply cannot. just put this to test. We can isolate a state in Nigeria and say that the price of PMS, and please, people need to hear me in full, is 10,000 naira, and watch whether people will buy or not. The truth is that some persons will still buy. Remember when the PMS price jumped to 600, 700? For some weeks, people said no. After a while, people were forced to buy. But that people have now loaded that on what they are selling. People have expected higher salary. At the end of the day, what exactly changed? Because over the time, those that are advising us, these are the style and strategies they adopted, not just in Nigeria, funnily enough. The same strategy was adopted in Argentina and a few other countries. But you check for Venezuela and Argentina that are adopting similar strategy that Nigeria is adopting. Have they really changed? And that is why it's important for us to know that we have a responsibility to protect the vulnerable amongst us. And if we must protect them, we have to look at some issues and perhaps add to what we are doing or review some of the policies. And if you ask me, the way to start, like I said time and again, is to be very deliberate in making energy available and affordable for production. See, no matter how much we speak, we sound like my friends from the north that calls it Dogon Turunchi, that's BB grammar. What matters here is if we are not producing, we will be susceptible to those who are producing for us, to those who are providing us with things. So if truly we will save the situation in Nigeria, what we should look at is everything that will make us. And let me give you an instance. Our pupils just resumed. Nearly 40 million of them. Check their school uniform, as basic as school uniform. Where are those uniforms coming from? From China, from India. 40 million. After a year, some of them will buy again. Can we start solving our problem one after the other? While we focus on manufacturing, protecting that industry, we cannot allow them to say that they should be thrown into the same competition with those who have protected their market over time. China did not just become China overnight. There was a time where China protected the manufacturing sector for them to be what they are today. You saw how countries were going to visit America. But how did Xi Jinping respond to it? Because he has the capacity to produce. At the end of the day, he that leads is the one that gives. He that leads is the one that produces. What is Nigeria producing sufficiently?